Hello and welcome to ILTV's Evening Update. I'm Aaron Porras here with the latest news from Israel.
Earlier today, an Israeli man was lightly wounded near the Gush Etzion junction as a Palestinian terrorist attempted to ram his car into the man. The driver was fatally shot by IDF troops on the scene. His identity is not yet known. The victim, though, a 60-year-old man, received treatment by the Magen David Adom paramedics before being taken to Shaarei Tzedek Medical Center in Jerusalem. The West Bank and Palestinian East Jerusalem have been flashpoints for violence, especially since the so-called knife intifada began October 2015. Just last week, for example, 21-year-old Hannah Bladden from the UK was stabbed to death by a Palestinian man near the Jerusalem light rail. He was attempting soldier-assisted suicide. According to AFP figures, roughly 250 Palestinians, a Jordanian, and a Sudanese have all been killed since October 2015. Most of them were in the act of carrying out a terrorist attack. The Netanyahu government is in hot, practically boiling water today, as bereaved parents levied harsh criticisms against his alleged mismanagement of the 50-day-long 2014 Gaza war, known as Operation Protective Edge. The Prime Minister has often painted the operation as a victory for Israel, even saying that Hamas, the internationally recognized terror organization in charge of the Gaza Strip, had begged for the war to end. For some, however, those words ring hollow. Lieutenant Hadar Golden's body has been held by Hamas in Gaza along with the body of Staff Sergeant Oron Shaul for the past 3 years. Golden's mother, Leah, whose voice was shaking emotionally, said, quote, "Operation Protective Edge isn't over. Hamas wanted to kidnap soldiers and it still has 2 of them," end quote. When Likud MK Miki Zohar attempted to cut in, Golden shouted him down and even threw her cup of water in his direction. She charged Netanyahu with turning the bereaved families into, quote, "the enemy of the people," end quote, for wanting their children's remains returned, desires supposedly counter to national security interests. Netanyahu said he, quote, "wanted to avoid a ground campaign," end quote, but that it was necessary to counter the threat of Hamas's terror tunnels. He even said that he hoped, quote, "one day there's a state control committee meeting about why we invested so much resources," end quote, in deterrence measures against the war. Michal Kedar, whose husband Lieutenant Colonel Dolev Kedar was killed in Protective Edge as well, reported saying, quote, "The job of the government and every Knesset member is to prevent the next war. Stop blaming everyone for your failures." This Saturday, the Palestinian Return Center, or PRC, is planning a political gathering of close to 3,000 people in solidarity with the Palestinian people. The PRC has been banned from operating within Israel ever since German intelligence discovered that the organization was in fact a front for Hamas. The gathering will feature Diab Abu Jaja, a Lebanese-born activist from Belgium who was recently fired from the left-leaning Flemish daily De Standaard for advocating for violent attacks against Jews. In January, Jaja took to Twitter writing, quote, "by any means necessary," end quote, in response to a Palestinian terrorist driving a truck through a crowd of soldiers visiting a popular tourist spot in Jerusalem. He also once described having a feeling of victory after the 9/11 attacks and has referred to the heavily Jewish-populated city of Antwerp as, quote, "the international capital of the Zionist lobby," end quote. Rotterdam Mayor Ahmed Abu Taleb turned down a request by the local Jewish community to cancel the event. In addition, local authorities have also denied a request by Roger van Oort, head of the Dutch organization Christians for Israel, to lead a silent countermarch. In response, Dutch MP Joel Verdewind of the Christian Union Party said, quote, that it's outrageous that people come preaching anti-freedom, while a peaceful group such as Christians for Israel are refused permission for a silent protest. 30 people have just been arrested on suspected drug trafficking and distribution charges as a Jerusalem undercover sting comes to a close. An agent working with the Israeli police was deployed into Jerusalem with a goal of cutting off drug crimes, especially focused on Jerusalem's southern neighborhoods. The identity of the agent has been hidden by a gag order for protection, but at the moment of the raid, we do know that 30 suspects from Jerusalem, 6 of them from East Jerusalem, were arrested, and hundreds of thousands of shekels in drugs as well as weapons were confiscated. The suspects had in their possession cannabis, prescription drugs, hash, guns, and more. Russian ambassador to Israel Alexander Shein is expected to meet with Israeli foreign ministry officials to discuss the Kremlin's decision to recognize West Jerusalem as the capital of the Jewish state. During the meeting, it's believed that Shein will also announce that Moscow recognizes East Jerusalem as the capital of a future Palestinian state, pending ongoing negotiations. Though Russia will be the first country to recognize West Jerusalem as Israel's capital, it is unlikely that the Russian embassy will be relocated from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, since the Kremlin remains committed to UN Security Council Resolution 478. Resolution 478, passed in 1980, condemns Israel's unilateral annexation of East Jerusalem and thus refuses to view the city as the capital of the Jewish state. So far, Israel has yet to formally respond to the Kremlin's decision, and the response from the Arab world has been mostly mute.
That's all for now. Stay tuned on ILTV.tv for our main daily broadcast playing after this. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you next time with our morning briefing from Israel at 8 a.m. Eastern Time.